I guess we're going to move on to the next little bit here, graphing a line using intercepts. So we're going to look at the Y-intercept and the X-intercept. So when we have our lines like this guy here is your X-intercept, this guy's your Y-intercept. So your X-intercept's where it hits the X-axis. The Y-intercept we already talked about, we call this B for Y equals mx plus B form. So one thing we're going to look at and discuss a little bit is what's consistent with Y-intercepts and X-intercepts. And an Y-intercept hasn't moved off the Y-axis, so it has an X value of 0. So the Y-intercept has an X value of 0. I don't move left or right. I'm on here. So it's a point that's going to be 0 and then something, right? Whatever the something is, and that's your intercept. This point here, you can probably guess, is going to be something 0. Okay, so this guy has moved whatever, left, right, or whatever, and has not gone up or down. So this is your side to side, your up and down, right? When we graph, your side to side in this case is something, and your up and down is nothing because you haven't left this axis. So that's your x-intercept and your y-intercept. You can find them by using these properties. So you can get the y-intercept by solving for this. You can get the x-intercept you get the y-intercept by setting x equals 0. You can get the x-intercept by setting y equals 0. Then you're going to have 2 points, connect the dots, and then we can even figure out the equation of that line. Is that crazy? Fun stuff. So here, this first equation here, if I want to find the y-intercept, I sub 0 in for the x, okay, and then I get 0 here. This is minus 7y plus 21 is equal to 0. I solve, I bring the 21 over, I bring the 7 over. Either way, I end up with y equals 3. So my first point is the y-intercept is going to be the point 0, 3. So that's this guy here. You don't need to write 0, 3. The y-intercept is 3. That's the y-intercept has to have an x value of 0, but I'll leave it like that. And the x-intercept is found when the y is equal to 0. So we sub that at 0. This turns into 0 because 7 times 0 is 0. 3x plus 21 is 0. 3x equals minus 21. X is minus 7. There's my other point. My other point is the point minus 7, 0. So I have these 2 points, and then I can plot them. And later on, what we're going to do is we can write the equation of a line after that too, right? So once you have the points like that, you can then come back and say, I have a rise of 3 and a run of 7. So I could have, you could tell me that my m is that, and then we could get the b from here, right? Then we could just write y equals 3/7x plus b. Is that cool? If you don't have the points graphed, you can use the old version of y2, the old way we found m, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. We haven't done that in a while. But remember, we make one of the points 0.1 and one of the points 0.2. It doesn't matter which one you do as long as you're consistent. And then you take you have your x and your y parts of the point, or the coordinates for each point. And here, if my points, let's go back to this one actually. If I had 0, 3 and 7, 0 as my points, and I wanted to minus 7, 0. Let's be consistent here. And I want to find my slope, what I can do is it's y2 subtract y1 over x2 subtract x1, which would then be, if this is 2, I would go 0 minus 3, okay, y2, y1, x2 minus 7, x1, 0, that's negative 3, that's minus 7. I have 2 negatives cancel out to become 3/7. Okay, and there's your slope. Okay, and then again, we did one here in class, right? You can do that either by using the points, or you can do that by getting the rise and run directly from the graph. And then here's just an example of going through the whole thing. Okay, so we find this, we find that. We have the points. There's our rise and our run. There's our equation. The nice thing about doing it this way is that you find the b or the the y-intercept while you're doing this. So when you get the slope by finding the slope, and then if you do this by finding the x-intercept and the y-intercept, you have the y-intercept obviously, and then that's your when you have y equals mx plus b. You don't have to do extra work to find out what b is because it's already here. It's 5. Okay, so get your slope, and then take this guy and put him right here, and then you're done. Okay, and then you can graph line also.